Kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. I know I am. Welcome to Winning Wednesday. It is, how has your Winning Wednesday been? What wins are you celebrating this week? What wins are you celebrating today? I have fingers crossed that all will be okay and that we will stay online. If you saw my Facebook post earlier, we had a major thunderstorm due to come through, and I was concerned because with clear blue skies and sunshine, my little internet thingy here dropped internet 3 times with clear blue skies and sunshine. And then I was concerned about these thunderstorms coming through and me having to miss more of my course because of the internet being out. But we got 0 rain during the time. I'm quite happy for it to come now. I have no problem. We got 0 rain during that time, and I love the rain and I love thunderstorms, so I have no problem if the rain decides to come now. But even with clear blue skies and sunshine, I lost the internet 3 times during this afternoon session. I was not a happy camper about that. I had already sent an email off to the support people to say, what is going on? This was supposed to be an improvement on services, and this is what's happened in less than our first month with the new service. So I have sent that message off to them, and I just had to keep rebooting because it wouldn't just drop. You'd have to go and reboot to reconnect to the internet because it just wouldn't come back on by itself, even playing with buttons and everything else. So yes, but it's still been a beautiful day. It's been an incredible day. This morning we learned all about manuscripts, and I have to tell you though, it's sort of like, it was eye-opening because I didn't know that these sorts of files existed. And we had the first lecture on it, and then the second lecture was all hands-on. It was great. We got put into breakout rooms, and we just all had fun going in and finding things. And a lot of the time we could just Google, and up would come a repository where the digital images were held of what we needed to see. And there was even a crab apple recipe from hang on, let's see if I can get it up on here. So I don't have it on there. I just have the recipe. I wish I could show it to you. It's really cool. I actually downloaded the image of the recipe. That was from 1840 something, 1830 something. It was really cool. It was all handwritten out on yellow paper from this woman's cookbook, recipe book, and she did have who had submitted to her the I don't know. My screen's doing all weird things on me right now. So yes, we got to go and research some interesting manuscripts, and manuscripts can be anything from family Bibles, letters, personal journals, to jeepers, big brain fart, to church minutes, organization minutes, enrollment registers for people in like admittance. We had one guy we had to search was from 1878, I think it was, and we had to find the hospital he had been admitted into and find the date that he left and the reason he checked out. And the reason that he checked out, it had written in there, eloped, and it was in an insane asylum, and he had eloped. And so we kind of found that funny, and somebody says, he probably just checked himself out. And it's like, no, it's more romantic when you think that he eloped. He fell in love and he eloped. But there's all these different types of handwritten records that are not published, that could be minutes from organizations, could be society organization records. Think of anything where you would handwrite records, like keeping minutes, even accounting records, in the sheriff's department, arrests and releases, charges, courthouse records, all of that sort of stuff comes under this big umbrella of manuscripts, and some of them are digitized and online, and you can go find them. And we got given a list of, I think, like 7 or 8 things to go and find. The 7 one was the optional one, and 8 is kind of our homework, to pick somebody from our own personal research and go find some manuscript, see if we can find any manuscript documentations. And this week has been really cool as well because I'm learning some new techniques, not only some new techniques, but also some new resources. And now I have this project to go and, because my mother-in-law thought that she was somehow related to somebody from the Mayflower. And so now I want to go and complete that project for, in her memory, and complete that project for her so that her boys and her grandsons, and granddaughters, she does have granddaughters too, and her great-grandchildren, will know that they had an ancestor on the Mayflower. So now I'm determined to go do that. And this week I've been keeping like places I can go and search for information. Like I'm stuck on this one person. They started off in Virginia and ended up in Ohio, but the Ohio records aren't, not Ohio, North Carolina, sorry. The North Carolina records aren't lining up with the information that I know about this person. They got the same name, they're around the same age, but so now I'm like, okay, what other records can I go in? And this week has been good because now I've gone back through my notes and go, okay, we can go here and we can check this, we can go and check this, we can go and check this, we can do this, we can do this. Because all of this guy was alive before the 1850 census. And the reason that's important is the 1850 census is the first one where everybody got their own line. Up until then, you had the landowner or the property owner, and it would have broken down by age, males, females, whether they were freed or enslaved, and that was the numbers across, and you just had however many people were in each of those age groups or gender groups. And so there was no information, so you just had the person's name. Well, his name's kind of a little bit of a common name, so it's going to require some more digging to figure out, did we get the right person? And I know that he had, one of the ones I'm looking at had land in North Carolina, so now I'm going to go and have a look at the land records to see how he got that land, and what land records I can find. So it's been really, really cool. And then this afternoon was all military, U.S. military. It was amazing. So we had 2.5 hours of military. So we get an hour and 15 minutes, take a 30-minute break, and then another hour and 15 minutes. And then we do lunch, and then we get an hour and 15 minutes, take a 30-minute break, an hour and 15 minutes. So that's how sessions do. We have 4 sessions a day. So the first 2 were on manuscripts. The last 2 were all military. And the guy they have come in to do the military stuff, he's like a walking encyclopedia on anything U.S. military. And he took us through some of the different U.S. Wars that the U.S. have been involved in, and different pension plans that came out of it, different land plans. He even showed us this one of this woman who was 22 when she married her 75-year-old husband, and her 75-year-old husband had fought in the Revolutionary War. And so he had fought in the Revolutionary War, was getting the pension from that. When he died, the pension then went to her. Well, she was 22 when they got married, and she was 90-something when she died. And there was this whole thing, was like 1906, I think it was, 1906, somewhere around there. I think that was the date when she finally passed away. And there was this big newspaper article about it, about how the revolutionary pension had made its final payment, or it was now officially closed because the last recipient of the pension had now passed away. And it had this whole story about this how old was she? 98? I want to say she's 98. She was in her 90s, about how this 90-year-old woman had married her husband when she was 22. He was 70. And he even showed us this document, which was an affidavit from the bride's mother. So the bride's mother had written an affidavit that she was there. She was 68 years old, at her 22-year-old daughter's wedding, getting married to a guy who was 75. And I thought, so your son, and I was sort of like, okay, that's weird. Your son-in-law is older than you are. So there's all these little fun stories that come out. But of course, she applied for his pension when he passed away. Got the land grant that he had as well, because he had a land grant as well. So he had the land grant, and then the pension, she got all of that, and they kept paying her his pension from the Revolutionary War, which of course took place in back in the late 1700s. I know New Zealand history and most of some European history. US history, I'm still catching up on. So late 1700s, when they had the Revolutionary War, all the way through to the early 1900s, all the way through to the early 1900s, because it was like 1906, 1908, somewhere around there when she finally passed away at a ripe old age of 90 something. So I was just like, that is such a cool story, and there are lots of different stories like this that we're coming across during the classes that we have. So the first part of the military stuff was all set up about talking about the different wars, about the records, how the records are kept, and how this guy, Colonel Fred Ainsworth, went to look up some records and saw the mess that they were in, and it took him forever to find anything. He came up with this concept on how to index and catalog all of the records, and so went to them and says, we've got to do this. And they basically said, okay, but you can do it with volunteers only first. And so they started going right back to the Revolutionary War all the way through, and it's even continued on today. And he passed away 2 weeks, 2 weeks or 2 days? There was a 2 in there. It was either 2 weeks or 2 days before the National Archives before the Congress passed the thing for the National Archives to be formed. And so he didn't get to see his project finished, and they actually have an Ainsworth room in the National Archives named after this guy who came up with the concept of how to index and categorize all the military records. And so he was showing us pictures of, this one's from the Revolutionary War, this is from the War of 1812, this is from the Civil War, this is from World War I, and they were all, the packets were all exactly the same, and it was just the information. And then so everything's put into these packets, all these packets are categorized, they're numbered, and he explained it all to us and everything else. So it was really fascinating to see how all of that, to hear the history about how all of that came around and when you get the packet, what's in there. And then even to the point that they had a fire at one point when he was categorizing this stuff and lost some records. Well, he wasn't going to let those records go. No. So he found a way to rebuild those records that were destroyed. There was 2 fires that he went through when he was categorizing all these records and things. And so he found ways to get copies of these records and recreate the records and everything else. And then there's telling us about a fire that was in the main building in St. Louis where they keep all the records. And because of this indexing and categorizing system that they had in place, they were able to say, these are the records that we have lost. There was no, maybe that was in the fire. No, they knew exactly what records had been destroyed. Some have been destroyed, some are burnt, some are lost forever, some they've managed to reconstruct. So they've got different types of files. You've got burnt. We even saw Burt Lancaster's discharge papers with charring around the edge, because his file had been burned, but it was still readable. And so now it has a coating of B for burned. So his file's still readable, but it is charred in some places. And then there's another, then you can get reconstruction files where they've gone back to the families, again, because they know the system, they know exactly. They've gone back to the families and asked for copies of any documentation that they have from their service. And they've been able to reconstruct that way. And some records they don't have at all, but you will still get a file, because what they've done is they've gone back to the Treasury to get copies of the payroll records and things like that. So they've found different ways to make sure that, yes, we can prove that they had service in some way or another, even though we've lost their full jacket. So it was just interesting going through all of this, and then looking at the different type of pensions that there were, how they were paid out. We talked about the land grants, which worked in beautifully when he was showing us the land records and stuff, because we just learned about land records yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Might have been Monday. It's either yesterday or Monday. Yesterday. Yes, yesterday. We did land records yesterday afternoon. And so it fit in beautifully about how the military would grant land to those that had served in certain wars and things, and then how you would go across and you'd look up those records. I'm like, this website, look, we were just on this website yesterday learning all about this. And so we were able to see it from a different perspective and how everything all ties in. So it's been awesome. It's been an awesome, awesome, awesome day today, even if I did lose the internet 6 times today. But coming up tomorrow, we're talking probate process, tax records. I think that one's on. Oh, and using genealogical evidence. And I think that's, DNA testing. That was the other one. So tomorrow's going to be really cool because we've got probate, and some wills are very interesting, make very interesting reading. There are some people out there who, when you're reading their will, you're like, hang on, they were married when they died. Why is the wife not on the will? Why are all the kids there and no wife? So that's the case of one of the ones I was looking at for a family member. So we've got probate tomorrow, tax records, using genealogical evidence, and using DNA test results as evidence. So that's going to be a cool one to look at as well. And then on Friday morning, it's all the methodology of citations and all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah. I know citations are required, that we really do need to be doing citations in that, and it's one of those things that's like, do I really have to do citations? Yes, you do. So you may as well figure out how to do them and everything else. Thankfully, we have some really cool publications out there that give us examples, so we can go, okay, I need to do one on this article Okay, so you look up the thing in one of the books that they recommend, and there's an example on how to do the citation, which bit goes where the punctuation goes and everything else, because apparently it all matters. You can't just put there, hey, I found this on page such and such and volume blah 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 of this particular book. Nope, there is a particular format that you have to go through, and based on if it's a physical book, a physical magazine, is it online, was it in a register somewhere? Did you find it on the bookshelf in a library? Whatever it is, whatever source that you use, you have to be able to write the source out so that somebody else, when they come along years later or whatever, they look at your work and go, oh, let me go have a look at that. And they can go straight to it. So citations are very, very important because it's part of proof, and we need to prove things. And I have my own little standards that go in with what the genealogical standards are. And this is why I cringe when people put up, this is why on Ancestry, so this is a big hint for when you're on Ancestry.com. So those little green leaves that come up? There's always one that comes up when you can click on one and it brings up a family tree. And you go down and you go, oh yeah, well, they've got the right mother, they've got the right father. Oh, those birth dates are different to what I've got. Oh, well, they've got all the information correct, so I'll just transport it into my tree. No. No. I always look at what sources has the person used. I go and I look at their tree, because most of the time you can click on the name of the tree and you can go and have a look at their tree. Do they have in there, because a lot of times it just shows like, this is the person, and then here are their parents, here are their spouses, here are their kids. But what it doesn't show you, which also gets transported in, is any siblings that they had. If there are siblings there, they also get transported in as well. And so I go in to look to see, do they have any siblings? If I've got siblings on the tree, I do a comparison. Are they the same siblings? So I go very deep into their tree to see what information is going to get transported into my tree. Is their information correct? What sources have they used? And like, there's a few, actually it's not a couple, it's more than a few more than a few trees that I have gone and looked at, and I'm like, where the hell did they get this information? And like, I can tell on some of them where they've gotten their information from. They've got it off a census record that they didn't verify was the right family, and they've plugged it into their tree like, oh, it's the correct family. You got to do your research. You can't just go, oh, here's the census record. Yes, everybody's names is all right, is okay. They've got an unusual name, so this must be the right family. Check it first. There has been so many instances, and I even have mistakes in my tree from way back when I used to do similar things, until I learned that you can't do it that way, that there are differences in that. And I picked it up one time many years ago. when they started putting the census records online, I picked it up and I'm like, oh, hang on. They're living in a completely different area. These people were born and lived in this area. They've been in that area for a long time, and now they're on the other side of the country. When did that happen? And then you go and you find, oh, even though it is a very unique surname and there's not a lot of those people around, yeah, let's just do some investigation here before we accept that information. But there's other people that are going, oh, yeah, there's the mum, there's the dad, there's the kids, click. And all of a sudden they've got a completely different family from the opposite side of the country in their tree and think, oh, look at this, isn't this great? Look, we're up here. Oh, there's only a couple of years difference in their birthdays, but that doesn't matter. It depended on who gave the information at the time. So, yes, I get that. But you got to check the information. You got to check. This is where directories come into hand. And, oh, I cringe. And even if I've seen people do this time and time again. If I'm in there and I'm looking at records and stuff, I used to do it a lot, and I learned my lesson, and I don't do it at all. As I do not import other people's trees into my tree, unless I know the person and I know their research methods, and everything has multiple sources, and I can go into their tree and confidently move around that tree and not go, oh, where'd this kid appear from? They didn't have a kid then. And sometimes that has happened because, oh, look, the parents' names are the same. Oh, must be their kid. Click. Yep. No, you didn't do your research properly. And it's like, well, hang on. They've got a kid only 3 months apart. How can that be? Things like that. So I very, very rarely, if ever now, import somebody else's tree into my tree. And I've got a lot of cleanup to do on my tree because of mistakes I made years ago. But over the years, you learn different techniques, you learn different methods, you learn the correct way of doing things. And this is what these classes, like last year's week-long class, the class I did in January, was all citations. We had a whole week of citations. Yes, we had a week of citations. I'll just leave it at that. Some people enjoyed the class. I was not one that did because of the way the class was done, in the fact that everybody had to have their cameras turned off. And if I'm in a room with a camera turned off, shiny object syndrome, real bad. If I'm in a room where the camera is on, I am paying attention because I am on camera. People can see me. I am behaving myself. I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I am paying attention. Plus, the speaker can also look around the room, like being in a classroom. You look around the room, you're getting that feedback from the audience. When you turn all the cameras off, it's like being in a classroom with blackout curtains between you and the lecturer. Not a good situation to be in. They can't get that feedback. It's part of the communication. And I think that's half the reason that the guy kept going over so much, because he wasn't getting that feedback. And so he just kept talking and hoping somebody was listening because he wasn't getting the feedback. But thankfully, all of the people so far we've had have all said, yeah, leave your cameras on. I'm like, yes, I can concentrate. I can learn. But if anybody comes along and tells me to turn the cameras off, I'm going to be like, no. But thankfully, at the end of the day, we get to go and they've given us links for each day to go in and fill out a form on the class, on the sessions we attended that day, so we can give our feedback on that. So if I ever have an instructor that comes in and says, turn your cameras off, yeah, that's going to be needs improvement. That's going to be into the needs improvement area. But anyway, celebrate your wins. Wins are important. I did not lose. As annoying as it was that the internet kept going out on me this afternoon, I did not lose a lot, and the fact that I can also go back and watch the recordings, because they put the recordings up each night. They're there the next day. We have access to them till like the middle of August or something, or the end of August or something like that. So I do have time to go back and watch over pieces that I missed because I was waiting for my internet to reboot. So I only lost like 2 to 3 minutes each time. Yes, it was a pain to have to keep rebooting this thing, but overall it was a really, really good day, and my internet issues are not going to affect the fun that I had today, learning about manuscripts, actually getting to practice researching manuscripts, and then all the military piece afterwards. I'm into anything military, I love. So I got a long history of military in my family. even my own military service. So, but that was in New Zealand, so I won't be anywhere in the US records. But learning about the US records, because there are members and families that I do research that did have military records, and to know what I can go and look up and how to look it up, just adds another little feather into my little genealogy cap. But anyway, I'm out of here. Go have a super fantastic, sparkling rest of your winning Wednesday, and we will catch you guys back here. Tomorrow's what? Thankful Thursday. Ooh, hang on, where? 4 sleeps. Mark on your calendars, Sunday, July 31st, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We are having a celebration. We're live. And if you are live, and we know that you're live with us, then we're going to do some door prizes. I haven't decided yet what my door prize is going to be, but we're going to have some. We are definitely going to have door prizes. So make sure that you're here for that. You come get to join us. It will be done as a live, because that's what we do. We're doing lives. And I haven't figured out how to do a Zoom and have it go live on Facebook. Otherwise, we could have you all joining us on a Zoom. So we're just going to do it like we're doing right now on StreamYard, StreamYarding straight into the Facebook pages and everything else for the lives. Yes, and come August 1st, there are going to be some changes. We've got some really, really cool stuff coming up. I can tell you right now that August the 9th, can't remember what time. I think it's 6 p.m. Mark off August the 9th, because we've got a special guest on that evening who is going to be on regularly, because she is just such an incredible person. And she's just such an amazing, amazing, amazing person. And I can't wait for you guys to meet her and hear what she has to say, because what she does is going to fit in so well with the new way that we are going to be doing the lives after, starting August 1st. So remember, July 31st, which is Sunday, it's this coming Sunday. It's 4 sleeps away. Yeah. Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Yeah, 4 sleeps away. 6 p.m. Pacific time, we're going to be having a celebration, because that will be show 1096, which is 3 years of doing Facebook Lives every day. And we have a special guest, and we're giving stuff away. So come join us. Make sure you put that in your calendar. I guess I'm going to do some promos on that one too. Nothing like leaving it to the last minute. It'll get done. It'll be fun. But come join us on Sunday, and then come August 1st, we're going to have a new format on how the show is going to be done and what topics we're going to be covering as well. So it's a brand new day come August the 1st. I am super, super excited about what is coming to fruition on August the 1st and where it's going to go. So you'll have to tune in then as well to find out. But anyway, maybe we'll talk about it on the 31st as well. So go have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow for Thankful Thursday. Hey, Konera.